Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how we can take a graphic from the internet and turn it into a template that we can be used to make our cornhole boards. We'll be putting these on our boards, cutting through it with an X-Acto knife, and then painting inside of the template. So here is what I'm going to show you. I've got a 2-foot by 4-foot rectangle, and I've laid a graphic out that I found on the internet. This happens to be the college that I attended. Found a graphic. When you look for a graphic, this is probably as fancy as you want to get as far as number of colors go. One color being the easiest, 2 colors, and this one is black, white, gray, and red. So it's going to be a little bit more complicated when I go to add my paint to this. So just keep that in mind when you are grabbing your graphics. So I'm going to show you how we do this. We're going to start off on the internet and type in whatever it is you're looking for. It doesn't really matter what you pick. Like I said, I scrolled down through here and found something fairly simple. I didn't want to get too detailed or have a bunch of letters and stuff that I had to cut out around. I'm still contemplating maybe not painting the word Huskies on here and just doing the NIU. That'll be a little bit easier to paint as well, but we'll make that determination later. If we look at this one, that's just the dog head. This obviously would be easier than the one that I chose, and so you get the idea. Alright, so I'm going to click on my picture. If you see what happened there, I click that one, and now I'm going to right click on the image, and I'm just going to say copy image. Alright, that's all there is to getting our picture. Now we're going to go into Illustrator and do a file new. When we start a new file, we'll want to name that file. I'll call this Morrison Husky board. Alright, and I'm going to check and make sure my width is 24 inches, my height is 48 inches, the color mode, it's fine to be on CMYK, raster effects, change this if it's not already, set to 150 ppi, and click OK. Here's our white background now, and this is 2 feet across by 4 feet tall, which is what we made our boards. And I'm going to put a couple things on here. We have a shape tool. If I click over and hover over that little triangle and just click and hold, when I let go, I'll see a rectangle tool. I'm going to draw a rectangle kind of just inside of the confines of the board, and I'm going to go up here to the width and height of my boxes, the width and height of my rectangle. I'm going to click on this link to kind of break the link, and I'm going to make this dimension 22 inches. And what that'll do is that'll give me 1 inch on either side of the rectangle, and I'm going to make this one 46 inches. That'll give me a 1 inch border all the way around. And then the X and Y tell me where the center of this is going to be. So I want the center of my rectangle to be 12 inches, which is the center of 24 inches, and 24 inches will be the center of the vertical direction. Hit enter, and there is our box. Clicking on this little arrow will allow us to click off of it, and you'll be able to see that little outline right there. I'm going to tape this off, and I'm just going to give a little decorative color to the border of this, and this color probably is going to bleed over and be the color that I paint the edges of my board as well. So it's a good transition from the side of your board onto the top of your board. Alright, now I'm going to locate the hole. So clicking on that triangle again on the shape tool, I'm going to click the ellipse. And this time if I make an ellipse, you can see how kind of stretched out it is as I kind of drag around it. But if I hold the shift key as I drag, it'll maintain its circular shape. So I'm going to hold the shift key, drag it out, and let go. Up here at the top, I'm going to check this now so that it stays linked. So it looks like a chain that's linked together. And I'm going to make the width of this circle 6 inches. And when I click enter, you can see they both change to 6 inches. And I'm going to make the center of this circle 12 inches in the X direction, which is the side to side direction. And if you remember, we measured down 9 inches when we cut our hole in the center of our board. I'm going to put a border around the hole as well. So I'm going to click on that circle tool again, and I'm going to just drag a big hole, hold shift again. I'll drag a big circle, and you'll see that I've covered up the other circle. And what that's doing, what's that telling me is I just have a white circle, an opaque circle that's covering it up. So down here, this tool is our outline color, which is called the stroke color. And then back behind here, if I click on that, that will bring forward my fill color. I'm going to change this from being a white fill. I'm going to click this little white box with a red line through it, which means none. And that means that I no longer have a fill. I have an outline, black, but no fill. And I'm going to change the size of that. If I want an 8-inch diameter, that will give me a 1-inch border around. So I'm just going to type in 8 inches on the width of that circle, and then I'm going to locate the same exact center. So 12 in the X and 9 in the Y. So there we go. Click your little arrow right here will allow you to click off it. So I've got a border there, and I've got a circle with a border around there as well. You do not need borders. I just think it's going to look a little better with those borders on there. All right, now I'm going to place my image. So if you remember, we copied it. So now if I just press Control V, the picture will pop up onto our board. This popped up relatively the size that I wanted. You guys, depending on the size of the picture from the internet, you might find that your picture was really, really tiny and you got to stretch it, or really, really big and you have to stretch it down. So holding shift again, because I don't want, if I don't hold shift and I grab a corner on this, what's going to happen is it's going to either stretch out wide or stretch out tall. But if I hold shift, it'll maintain that square proportion. I'm going to just drag these two corners. I'm going to slide it down the board a little bit. And I just want it to be kind of centered in there. And if you want to make sure that it's dead center, you can look up here and you can place it right at the 12, the X value at 12, and it'll put it right in the center. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it actually, and that looks pretty good. So now, I do not want to, when I print this thing, I do not want to print all these colors. I just want outlines. That'll help me cut the shapes out as well. So I'm going to use what's this called the image trace, and there's a little drop down right next to the image trace, and I'm going to choose 16 colors. If I don't do that, if I don't pick the 16 colors and I have multiple colors on here, what could happen, most likely, is that the red and the black and the gray will all become one color, and it'll be a mess. Actually, I'll show you that. If I just click image trace, all of those darker colors become black, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go up here to edit, undo, so I can go back to my original, and I'm going to go up to the drop down, and I'm going to click 16 colors. I know I don't have 16 colors, but this will break it down into as many colors as it can find. It'll take a little while to process as it looks for the various colors, and then it's done. All right. After you've gone through that process of tracing, you'll notice that this expand button will appear. I'm going to click that expand button, and if I hold Alt and roll my wheel forward, you can see I now have blue lines that are separating all my different colors, which is exactly what I want. Okay, now instead of this being one big picture, I have this broken down into various pictures or various graphics separated by different colors. All right, so at this point, what I want to do is I want to clean up this picture a little bit and get rid of some stuff that I don't want. You may or may not need to do this step, but how you would do this is if I go to Object, I'm going to ungroup, because right now, even though I've separated it all, it's still all grouped together as one picture. It's separated, but it's still grouped. So I'm going to ungroup it. Therefore, every shape, every color is its own shape. And if I click, make sure you have your arrow selected. If I click off of it, and then I click just part of my object, you can see that I no longer have blue all the way around it. I just now have this black shape around the outside, and I'm going to click the delete button on my keyboard to make that go away. There we go. That's much cleaner picture. All right. Now the other thing, this all looks pretty good. I'll scroll back out so you can see it. That's what my logo is going to look like after I paint it. I want, for the sake of printing it out on the big paper and creating my template, I don't want all these colors to be printed out and wasting ink. So I'm going to click out here above my picture, and I'm going to click and drag over all of it and drop it. So now all of that's selected. And if you remember, our two boxes down here are fill and our stroke. I'm going to click the fill box, and I'm going to click none. And then right next to it, I'm going to hover over the stroke, click it, and I'm going to go ahead and double click it, and then grab way down here at the very bottom left hand corner, drop. You should see zeros after the pound sign, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. If you're not on that, you're going to see a number, but if you can get it all the way down to the corner so it's all zeros and click OK, you now have a black outline around those shapes. So clicking the arrow, click off of it, there is what's going to get printed out on our big paper for our template. Then we'll be all ready to go. We'll be able to lay it out on our boards, and we'll be able to run our X-Acto knife around there and get our picture cut out. Going back to my final example, you can see my paint scheme that I worked out. So I'm going to have black, red, and gray on top of a white background. Will be my final look to my project. All right, I'll show you how to print your board. Go ahead and get this saved to your Google Drive so you have a copy in case we need access to it, and I'll show you how to print it in class.